go ahead and get started this evening. We appreciate everybody coming out on a Thursday night, especially early in the evening, but we'll try to make it worth your while. One of the major themes that has emerged throughout all this CSEP process, town hall meetings that we've had, has been safety. And plus, with everything going on in the world today, it's an important item that we got to make sure of, that the first and foremost responsibility we have as a school district is providing a safe environment for our students. So with that in mind, we hope to learn some things tonight. We want to have your input as well. And as we move forward, we're getting this into a more definable plan that'll be implemented and over time will be a benefit to the school district. So with that said, we'll turn it over to our Director of Student Services, who's responsible for transportation and safety, Solon Haynes.
Okay. Well, welcome. Like Dr. Newhart said, my name is Solon Haynes, and part of my duties is safety and transportation along with student discipline. And so tonight we want to go through a short PowerPoint with you that kind of tells you what we do in our buildings and in the district to keep our students and our staff safe. Okay. What we want to start with is I'd like to introduce Sergeant Jill Voltner.
Take over here.
Yeah, come on. Sergeant Voltner is in charge of our SRO program, which is our school resource officers. And she's going to talk to you just briefly about the role of our resource officers in our buildings.
I'm going to be very brief. My name is Sergeant Jill Voltmer. I know several of you, at least two from high school. But anyway, regardless, I've known a lot of you for a long time. I have been a police officer here in St. Joe for 23 years. I took over the school resource program January this last year. May this last year, right at the end of the school year. The school year, of course, has started. We have had intruder training that we put on for almost every single school. The 4 guys that work for me are back in the corner over there. Do you guys want to stand up and introduce yourselves?
My name is Mike Carter, I'm a school teacher.
And where you work?
Central High School, and I also cover Bode Middle School and Sherman Middle School.
Gary Hickok, I'm at SRO at Lafayette. I cover Rubidoux and Webster.
Ken Schroeder, I'm SRO at Benton High School and Spring Garden Middle School.
Marcy Scott Smith, I'm the safety school officer. I do all the elementary schools, private, crib, parochial. My main place that I deal is the Dan Colgan Alternative Research Center.
Okay, so those 4 guys help make my job a lot easier. They're accessible to all their administrators 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We'll take phone calls after hours during school. If it's something that involves me, usually it's going to be something that involves him too. We have a great partnership with you guys and we look forward to continuing with it. So, thank you.
And we do have a very good partnership with the police. Sergeant Voltner and I talk about 3 or 4 times a day on different incidents to ensure the safety and things are being handled correctly. Also, about a month ago, we had a situation in Lafayette where we had a lockdown and the police responded. Well, we learned some lessons from that, and the police were very good about, they had a debrief within the department on what they did and what they could have done better. Well, in turn, they met with the staff from Lafayette, Joey, and myself and some district officials, and they debriefed with us so we could also learn from that incident and to try to prevent that in the next time it happens. Okay, so it's a really good partnership. Every year we do a survey of our parents and our students, and one of the questions is, I feel my child is safe at school, and this is the parent. So I don't know if you can see these. I think that's probably about an 81% of the parents responded that they feel that their child is safe at school.
How many survey responses did you have on that?
It was right around 915. It's up there when you click on it, but right around 915.
For parents. And we do this mainly right at the end of first quarter when parents are coming in for parent-teacher conferences.
So that's all ages.
This is first one was parent. Mm-hmm. Now we have elementary, and we'll do secondary results. So this is how the elementary students responded to it, and I believe all the elementary students have the opportunity to respond. So I'm guessing there's probably 6,000 responses.
Where did you get that feedback set? Where did you get all that?
We got this, we surveyed all the students in our building, the elementary, had an opportunity to take a survey. And so this is the result when we asked them, do they feel safe at school? And so you can see another high percentage. Then we asked the secondary students how they feel at school. And once again, another high percentage, they agree or strongly agree. And some just felt like they didn't want to answer that question. So. This is, they asked the parent, do you feel that the school has clear procedures for handling school emergencies? And once again, a very high percentage said they agree or strongly agree. I can't read what that is. That's probably in the 70s, close to 80% again. So that tells us we've done a pretty good job of communicating with our parents, our procedures, but there's still some parents that may not be aware of how we handle emergency procedures, and we need to do a little more education with our parents in that communication home, so parents know what happens in a lockdown, what happens in a fire drill, what happens in a case of this or a case of that. So these are some examples of the drills that our schools are required to do every year. So in August, we require all our schools to do a fire drill and a tornado drill. In September through December, they're to do 2 more fire drills, 1 intruder drill, and a bus evacuation drill, where they'll all go on the bus, and they will, the bus drivers will go over emergency procedures on the bus. Then January through April, we do 2 more fire, a tornado, an intruder. We do another bus evacuation. We also do an earthquake drill. If you saw, we had an earthquake kind of close to us just last night. So, yeah. Our schools, every year we ask our principals to make sure that they have a crisis team put in place. So they have faculty members that are on certain teams to respond to an emergency. We also have a reunification team. That is just in case we have to evacuate the building. All the buildings have a reunification site off campus where they can go in case we have to evacuate a building. And so there's procedures and there's staff members trained in that so that we can get the student back with the parent. Okay, so those are the process. Also, we have staff members that are trained in first aid and CPR throughout. I think 260 some staff members are trained in first aid and CPR throughout the district. So what happens when there is an incident in the St. Joseph School District? This is our district crisis team. It's made up of Superintendent Dr. Newhart, myself, Dr. Schindorf, Dr. Stagel, and Joey Austin. We are the team that down at the district office that responds out to any emergencies. Also, if we do have an emergency down within the district, the police usually provide an officer to come down to the superintendent's office so they're able to communicate directly with police. So much easier for us to get information clearly and quickly. So in the event we have a crisis, we always instruct that the building principal or the secretary or somebody call 911 immediately, then they notify the superintendent's office. So we determine if a member from the central office needs to respond. If the building is being evacuated and there's extra help being needed, we can respond. We also have other principals, assistant principals throughout the district we can call on to help in a situation like that. Or if it's a lockdown or it's another crisis in the building, then we respond. So we're able to assist that building in anything they need. I want to go through a few terms with you because you probably hear these quite often, lockdown, okay? Our buildings are always locked down. They're always secure. For staff to get in, they have to have a key card to get into the building. For a parent or somebody to come up to the building, we have what we call an airphone right by the front door. It's kind of like a doorbell. You ring it. The person in the office, secretary, principal, can see who it is and talk to them and ask them what they need, and they can buzz them into the building. So we're always on a lockdown. And so there's certain things we could do in this. Say the police are looking for somebody somewhere in the area and we really don't know where they are. You know, we can still say that lockdown mode, bring in our PE classes, bring in recess, and then teaching and learning can still happen within the building without having just to lock down the whole classroom and the students. We also have called more of a hard lockdown, no one in, no one out, and that's kind of what we refer to when we have what we call shelter in place. The shelter in place is when there is an immediate threat to the school, to the students, to the staff. Okay, in that incident, staff are to get all the kids into their classroom, lock the door. We not only have deadbolt locks, but now we have what we call a cable lock. It's a cable that attaches to the wall and can be hooked onto the door, so we have 2 security devices on that door to make it more secure. Okay, so in the instance if we really had this, you know, we would get out of sight, we'd shut the shades so nobody could look into a room or through the windows, shut the windows, lock windows, have the students be quiet so people don't know if there's people in a room. And we also teach them, they don't respond to knocks at the door because they don't know who it is. Okay, once you're in the lockdown mode, you don't open the door for anyone.
If the staff member gets locked out, then you give them their key.
Probably not, because they're going to put that cable lock on. So then that door is not going to come open.
Because they have the key to put it in, right?
No, because they may open the deadbolt, but it's not going to open. The cable's going to be connected to the door, so they're not going to be able to get in.
But they can still get in with the car.
Into the building?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could get into the building, yes. Yes, but not into the classroom. And through intruder training, like Sergeant Volmer said, that every school goes through intruder training with the police every year. So the staff are trained on what to do in case we have an intruder in the building. Medical emergencies. You know, we know it's going to happen. We know kids are going to, unfortunately, they may break something, they may fall. We have that. Our first line in our medical emergency is our nurse in our building. Every building has a registered nurse in the building, which is great because they're able to respond immediately to any medical emergencies that we may have. We also, like I said, we also have other members of the staff that are trained in CPR and first aid. We have a crisis manual, but we also have, but also in every room, we have these flip charts that every teacher has in their room that goes through all these different scenarios and what they should do. So if they have something going on, it's right there. Most of them keep them on the clipboard by the door, that if they have to evacuate, they could grab it. If not, if there's something going on and they need to look up something quickly, they could use this flip chart and look and see what our protocol is in the school district for handling these types of situations.
So, obviously, when we do have a crisis in the school district, the first thing we want to do is let our parents know what's going on in the buildings. We also let our Board of Education know, our K-12 administrators, and then an all-staff email. And so, probably the best way that we communicate with our parents is through our Parent Link alert system. And this is through our Power School. So if you have a student that's enrolled, then we take that information and you let us know through phone, email, or text how you want to be communicated with. So in an emergency situation, we would send that information to every single piece that you would want us to. So you'll get a phone call on your work phone, your cell phone, your home phone. You'll get an email, you'll get a text alert. And also through our app, if you downloaded our district app, you can get a text specific to school. So if you have a student at Coleman and Bodie, you can be alerted by those 2 specific schools. Twitter is probably the fastest way that we communicate with people who have questions. We also will respond to sometimes questions that are coming like, we heard the school's in lockdown. It's the way that we can, from a district perspective, put out a statement very quickly that we know a lot of our high schoolers are on Twitter and our schools are on Twitter. So that retweet, getting that information out is very helpful. We also put it on Facebook. The problem with Facebook is we can get immediate comments and we don't have the manpower to really moderate those. So sometimes it will appear on Facebook after the fact when we have all of our facts in place. We do put statements on our website. And again, this isn't really a two-way communication, it's a one-way communication to put a statement out there, what the situation is and what we're doing to address it. Staff email, we'll put an immediate email out that a situation is occurring, and then again, after the fact, when we have all the information, we'll follow up with that. We also do letters home to students, and this can be in various cases of, for example, a student brings an airsoft gun to school. And he's doing it to show his friend that he has an airsoft gun. Well, what we need to do is we need to alert the parents in that class that the student has brought an airsoft gun to school. The staff was notified, and they took immediate action, they called the police, and then we'll follow through with that. We always make sure to let our parents know that no students or staff members at any time are in harm's way, and then what we do as a follow-up to that. And also, of course, our local news media. So those are the ways we communicate. I know it's a very fast-paced society. We're in a social media society, but what you'll find from the district's perspective is we want to make sure that information that we pass on is accurate, it's correct. And so we do have a lot of people that listen to the scanner and take immediate, that everything on the scanner that's happening is true and that we can respond to it. But what we'll do is we'll talk to our police officers and put out the information that is correct. So do you guys have anything to offer as far as that goes?
Just in our communication, of course, we always give it a call from downtown. We communicate with you guys directly as to the current and accurate information and try to share it as quickly as possible as soon as we have it.
Several people, you may or may not know, there is an app also to listen to our scanner. Joey's very familiar with it.
I love it.
She loves listening to me on the
I do.
radio.
I listen to this game.
That frequency, the frequencies that are on there are all public frequencies that everybody can hear. Some of them are in police talk with different codes. If you're not familiar, you really may not know what's going on. Joey can probably tell as well as I can. If a major incident happens, a lot of times we change to another channel that is an encrypted channel that the whole public doesn't have in case the bad guy could be listening, or a family member, or whatever. That is why we supply them with a police officer that can monitor that channel also for you guys and for administrators and for safety, but not for the public to know at that time. So it does switch over to that. It is monitored by our dispatch, and but the whole world can't hear it.
Do you also want to mention the Nixle app that's available?
There is an app that is available in town, and it is called Nixle. You can get text messages. You can also get emails, and it's www.nixle.com. I have it, and I don't know how many people have it now. You will never get anything that is, you think, oh, I can't believe I just got that alert. It'll be the road's closed for wreck down by Menards, and let's say your husband's shopping at Menards, and you're like, oh my gosh, or there's a gas leak or wherever. Missing kids, we do Nixle alerts on missing kids almost immediately. And places to avoid where something happens, where sometimes that has the exact opposite effect. You get those alerts. They do tests every so often, but 90% of the alerts that you get are ones that are very significant, and there are events in town that are ongoing. Once, let's say there's a wreck at Belton G Field, they send out a Nixle alert that says the road is closed. They will send a second one out that says the road is open. If a child's missing, they will send one out with the child missing, description, name, last area, last seen. Then they send another one out that says that when they've been found, or additional information. One of the kids that we had was a runaway on Jean Field in really inclement weather. The Nixle alerts what helped us find that kid. So it is a very effective tool, and it works really well for us.
Right. And you also announced when we are on lockdown, even though we're on perpetual lockdown, our community likes to know when we're specifically locking down a school, whether it's in a soft lockdown or a hard lockdown. And so we're working with the police department to make sure that that information gets mixed out and then also through our various channels?
Well, and it's like the game used to play in school where the one child starts saying something and by the end it gets the other, by the time it gets the other side of the class, it is so messed up. I don't know how many times Solon or Joey calls me and I said, no, that is not what happened. This is what happened, and we give them the accurate information to let them make a determination, but we are available real time to do that. So it cuts out all the, oh my gosh, we heard there's a shooting on 12th Street. Well, yeah, but nowhere near anywhere you are. There's been several incidents this year that have involved school resource officers and programs that have been, successful. The Lafayette lockdown and the threats to the school, it was a success, and every one of those that we have is a good experience and like a drill. That's why we debrief and try to make it better and try to work out some of the kinks. So I'm really glad we haven't had a real one, but every one we have that is like that is truly a good drill to help us learn and get better.
Right.
We also dealt with a Hosea deal. We had a child that came to Carter Park and witnessed a shooting on the way to school and immediately told the administrators, and they did. And so there's a lot of successes coming out of this program.
And I also want to echo that we have such a great working relationship with our police officers, and they do a great job. They're in our schools, they know our students, and to have that good relationship really helps us when we go through crisis situations to be able to get that information to our public as fast as we can. I do want to introduce Kim Hill. She's here tonight, and she is with, she's our coordinator of counselors. And Kim is also a very vital part in some of the things that we work with as far as bullying prevention. We just finished with October, which was Bullying Prevention Month. And then any incidents that we do have, of course, we always have our counselors available to speak with our students. If there's kind of some trauma that goes along with anything, specifically suicide, any type of situation that they would feel that they need to talk to people. Do you have anything to add with that, Kim?
Well, I think you pretty much covered it. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take questions now or at the end. I would echo that the mental health and well-being of our students is very much important to us, just like their physical health is. And so sometimes when these things happen, we may know that it wasn't really a serious, there was really no immediate threat, or that everything was really okay. The adults may know that, especially those that are privy to the inside, what's going on front and center. But our kids might be a little rattled, and so we're there for them to reassure them and to talk with them if they need it. We do a very comprehensive, proactive curriculum on bullying prevention, and then we bring a lot of special programs in throughout the year to augment that and to remind students. We have a counselor, a master's degree school counselor, one in every elementary school that's there 5 days a week for our students. If they need to talk, something's going on. We do a lot of teaching to the students, an education piece about the difference between what is true bullying and what might just be a conflict and needs some conflict mediation, or maybe some communication skills, like let's talk to each other using our words and using ideal messages, versus that's not really true bullying, because bullying happens over a period of time. It's very intentional. There's an imbalance of power. So we educate our students on that. And our big message, that probably the most broad message in our buildings to all students, is that the power of the witness. We try to create an environment within the schools that we choose kindness. Kindness is cool. No negativity. Those are some themes that are going on right now in our buildings across the district. And teaching kids that you as a witness, while you may not be directly involved either as the bully or the target, you have a lot of power, because you can stand up and say, this isn't okay here. You can go stand by that student and be with them, or walk down the hall with them. So that's just a little snippet of what we do. I don't know if that's what you wanted, but I'm happy to always talk with you about any concerns you may have in that area.
And also, Maria Burnham is our coordinator of nursing services, and so I can't even imagine how many things you go through on a daily basis with EpiPens and broken legs and falling off playground equipment, and the nurses are always the first line of defense with our students to keep them safe, to make sure they are, if they need to be transported to the hospital, an administrator always follows. to make sure that everything, the student is safe, the student is taken care of. So do you have anything to add?
No, I will piggyback on Ken. If anyone ever has a question, they can feel free to call me at 671-4000. I would field any questions, or even tonight if anyone has a question. But again, we also like to be proactive. We have emergency EpiPens for any unknown or known allergic reaction or anaphylactic shock in all of our buildings, and both for adult and child. And then we also have AEDs in every building in case anyone, whether it be staff or a visitor, were to go into any kind of a cardiac emergency. And we also have emergency albuterol in all of our buildings for any unknown or known asthmatic type of situation. So again, we hope we never, well, we do, we've never had to use the AED yet, but again, we're trying to be preventative and proactive and ready, and hope we never need these things, but we've got them with us if we do.
So at this time, what we'd like to do is just open up the floor for any comments or concerns from our parents, from our community members. If you have a comment, I should take one.
And I think the school district needs to, and the board needs to, I think they need metal detectors. And I told Dr. Newhart yesterday, I think they need to have metal detectors, and I think they need to have, like they do at the courthouse, but I know it costs a lot of money, but maybe there's a grant out there that can, some way, maybe the police department can help with that. That's what I think the world's coming to.
Well, I would like to have the SROs and police here to reassure us right now, everything going on in the world, is that the next step that needs to even be looked at, or do you feel that where we're at today in the St. School District, with the current doors locked and buzzer system basically is sufficient?
I would almost say that if a student wanted to bring a weapon to school, there's a way that they can get in. If we had metal detectors, they're going to get around that one way or another. It either be passed from student to student to get it in. Maybe I have metal detectors. I don't know if that would make a difference or not.
Would it make a difference for even larger events? Noticing what, again, has occurred recently particularly.
I mean, if somebody's carrying a weapon, you're not going to know unless they display that weapon. If somebody knew that they had it, maybe the way that they carry themselves.
Well, if you had an entry with all entrants to go through, no different than,
right.
I guess, where do we need to take this if setting up, you got a jamboree, for instance, tomorrow night at Civic Arena. I mean, is there a worry there that we need to be checking?
I feel that with the SROs, we have a good enough communication and good enough relationships with our students and our administrators that a lot of times that if there is something that's going to happen or a student is planning on doing something, and 9 times out of 10 they've already told somebody else that they're going to do this, a lot of times they will notify usually administrator or ourselves and we'll act on that. I mean, being a big event, that would probably be somebody that would do something, maybe somebody outside the school district or outside the school. So.
With these guys being in the schools every day too, and I think especially the job that Kim and the people that work with her do, the little boy that saw the shooting on the way to school told the counselor at Carton Park. I walked in there one day with these little itty bitty kindergartners that I was going to read to, and before he even sat down, one of them raised their hand as big as they could raise it, and Lacey was trying to get him to calm down, and he said, "I need to report a violation. She has a gun." And that's a high-risk school, and that's the first thing he saw was the gun. And that's the first thing he wanted to tell before anything started. So we went through some safety stuff and explained there's a difference between a uniformed police officer having a weapon in a school and, another person, but they immediately reported it to her. So I think communication, relationships with her, teachers, administrators, and these guys and me is a really big deterrent.
And educating kids to speak up.
And I think that is starting to change a lot. I think they are starting to realize that that's the right thing to do. I don't know if you noticed that one.
No,
I
absolutely.
think down in Kansas City, they're doing that now. They're going to metal detectors now. I think that's what I read, and I don't know what school does do that.
But the incident we had at Lafayette earlier this year, that's how that all started. It was a student that went to Mr. Davis and said, Mr. Davis, I received this text message or this message. And
It's all
that's
about
how it started.
relationships.
Because I feel that the administrators and us as SROs have got a good enough relationship, and the kids know how bad things are turning. I mean, how these things are turning real bad, and they don't want to be involved in it. And they just run into somebody and tell them what's going on, so we can maybe cut it off before it gets to that point.
We've had some good continuity in the school with our school resource officers where kids have gotten to know our resource officers and they see them every morning, they see them in the lunchroom, they see them all the time, where they feel comfortable coming up and talk to them. And I think that's really helped out.
Yes, and I would just add that we start in our counseling curriculum in kindergarten, teaching them about safety and who is a safe adult that you can trust. Find a safe adult, and then, like several years ago, a few years back, we had an incident in one of our elementary schools where a student did bring a weapon, and I was actually at the high school level when that happened. But what I know is that in response to that, we developed a gun safety curriculum that is taught in all of our elementary schools. A whole, curriculum was developed around that to educate students about gun safety, because it was a situation where it was very scary that the student even had access to that within the home, and could have harmed that student could have harmed him or herself at the time. So I agree with everything you just said. It's all about relationships, and we have such a caring staff. Our administrators are caring. The fact that they go talk to the principal when they have a concern, because we are very relationship focused with our kids, our teachers want to have a relationship with our students, and that's key to communication.
If we have to rely on waiting for a person to go through a metal detector to realize there's a threat or a gun, we're not doing our jobs. Because we should know way before that.
And if we were to put metal detectors in the schools, I mean, just at Lafayette alone, we would have to try to put 7, 8 metal detectors, because those are the doors that are being used, and those metal detectors would have to be manned by somebody. It's not like that you would just set them up and the kid would come. You'd have to actually have somebody at that metal detector while there's anything going on, while the building is open. Somebody would have to be there, because who's to say a kid don't come in at 6 o'clock at night and there's nothing really going on, but the school's still open and they may have basketball practice or something like that, and he comes in the door, he now comes in and he gets through it, and he stores whatever weapon he wants to bring into the school, and then he leaves, and then the next day he don't have a weapon because it's already there.
I think externally, we're doing a very good
I got something to
job.
add there. When they come to a building, can't they open up some backpacks when they come in a building? I mean, is that basic privacy?
Well, I mean,
There's
you
reason.
got 950 kids at Lafayette alone. How long is it going to take to go through every kid's backpack every day? Every time they leave the school, they go to Hilliard's, and then they come back.
Can they run a Juan food?
They leave for.
Can they run the deal that you run the guns?
Jay, we can search backpacks if we have a reasonable suspicion.
Yes.
I
I think it's, if you look at the school shootings that were really kind of Columbine was the instigator.
Yeah.
And back then, and it's been many years now, schools were not locked. Those kids just walked in the doors. And now, I think more and more schools are going to this locked system. So people can't just come wandering in, and strangers certainly can't come wandering in. And the more shootings you're hearing of now are on college campuses where they're open, and the buildings are open, and the campus is open, and somebody can get on and get off quickly. Not your regular schools that are going to this lockdown.
I think externally, we're doing a good job. Where I have safety concerns is internally of the kids being there, and you know, sometimes their hands are tied because of no child left behind. We're going to try to educate that child, that student at no cost. But sometimes it's just like when you're standing at Walmart, you don't know what the capability is of the person next to you, and it's inherent risk. But we just really need to be on top of what's happening inside the schools right now, because it's violent behavior and we're keeping it under control. You know, we just got to stay on top of it. Externally, we're doing really well. We have things in that we're doing today that we never done 4 years ago. So each year we're learning with it. And one of the things that we train is just like a fire drill. We can tell you, you see smoke, smell smoke, see a flame, there's probably a fire, and you need to handle that directly, exit in an orderly manner, getting out to a safe place, and you should be safe. When it comes to violence, no matter whether you're at school or at the mall or at your church, when it erupts, it has to be a live exercise of how you're going to handle yourself and how your survival rate goes up. But the schools are on board. Like I said, what we have in place now, we didn't have 4 years ago. And we're trying to, as a police department, we're trying to work with the school district to make every effort that we tell them last year that worked great, but we've had some new training, or we've researched this. We think this was a better way. We want you to be on board that you're listening to us and that you're seeing that we can't plan for an incident like this to happen, because just one step of it is not going to work. It's going to have to flow. It's going to have to be alive. There's going to have to be alternative decisions. There's going to have to be common sense involved. How do you know one bite at a time? How do you break down a school? Schools are so large that we have to give our staff power to know that they have to be able to make the decisions themselves, but it's got to be a reasonable, sound decision. And they're going to have to articulate why they made that decision, and it needs to be logical, and it needs to be a safe one.
We went years ago after 9/11, we had the CERT training, Certified Emergency Response Team. A lot of us went over the summer and picked that up as 2 weeks. And is that gone now, or is that, you know, statewide, or is it just something we don't do now?
Can I answer that? I'm Julie Alt, I'm the emergency manager for the city of St. Joe. There is no official CERT in St. Joe right now. The nearest one is Cameron. And I just came here in May from the Kansas City Metro, and our CERT program is very strong there. There are 12 teams in the Kansas City Metro. And it is on my list to create one for St. Joe, because the community emergency response team is an amazing asset.
Well, that's what I found is when we went to the training as teachers, it not only helped me for the school, but it helped me as, you know, as a community member too.
In the community as
really
well,
useful.
yes.
Right.
Over the next, right after the turn of the year, look for information in the paper, because we actually have instructors right here. We have 3 of them right here in town, the fire department and so forth. And please come join if you're interested. CERT can be called out for everything from helping with traffic in an incident, to sandbagging, to helping with large events, to anything. You know, we had a few years ago, we had a school bus accident in Liberty. Some may recall that. And the full bus crashed, killing 2 drivers of vehicles, and several of the kids severely injured. And CERT was deployed and helped round up the kids and get them back to the schools so parents, you know, for reunifications, or because there just wasn't the manpower to, you know, take 40 kids all of a sudden. CERT's a really great asset, so we really hope to get that going over the next year, and we certainly hope to be an asset to the schools as well with that.
You got another question too. A lot of this I'm just asking to create thinking. Does the school district need to take the level of training to a level 2 or level 3? What I would consider for actually having some mock shooting drills in, you know, on site, or to have a mock evacuation, where we're literally taking to level 3 and where we set up triage, we set up, we got to get buses there, take them to, in other words, you're making it as live as you can make it. Because what happens when I've gone through this over my career, that's what is missing. Everybody does a great job at this initial level, but then when the real thing happens, if you have to evacuate kids off-site, if we're prepared to do that, for instance.
One thing you want to do with that, we want to be careful not to train our kids, because you're still, in a school shooting situation, there's still most likely going to be the child inside the school that will do that shooting. Chains have been involved with the campus shootings recently. So we don't want to train our children, we want to train our staff members in the district. We love to do that.
Well, even though to the point of whether take schools shooting aside, take their fire drill, or if we got to get kids off site, an earthquake drill, are we really there to handle a true multi-school emergency?
Dr. New York, we have had some active shooter training where the police department, the special response team was training at Lafayette in the summer, and staff members went down and we were used in a variety of different roles just to see what their training is and the steps that they take and how they're going to handle staff members and things like that, which we opened it up to all the administrators in the district at that time.
Well, currently part of the DESI requirements and items not waived checklist is an annual training on that. And that was addressed, Dr. Haynes knows that. And my question is, how do you get everybody trained? And
How do you have time?
absolutely.
Well, they have done these. I know they did it up at Weston, and all the teachers, it was a mandatory training, shooter training. There were no students there.
Well,
But it was pretty good.
there's a bill that came out, HB 75, that came from the House, the State House. It says that every school district employee must be trained yearly on active shooters training, on active intruders, I should say. And they're required. Now, we've done this the last 2 years where we've gotten all the school district employees and went through the training. And the first year we did everybody. Then this last summer, we just had to do a refresher with the people that went through the first year, and then all the new employees had to go through the whole thing. Like Sergeant Wolfman said, we have a couple more schools we got to finish up to actually do the entire district. That's the plan. But every year we were required to actually train all the employees in the school district, and then again, like we said earlier in the PowerPoint, that then every school has to go through at least 2 intruder drills a year, and they have to actually be done in the presence of law enforcement for the county. Because probably in the next couple of years, the state's going to start doing, come down and audit all the school districts to make sure that that's actually being done.
But those trainings aren't the
How well do you evaluate those? Because I would assume that anytime you're conducting training, you want to evaluate it. And how well do you anticipate the faculty and the administrators to develop any form of muscle memory when they're only doing this once a year?
That's not hard to That's again, cut down time and
That the intruder training, the police,
Fire drill or any type of whether it's evacuating the floor, finding some safety or any of that stuff, how well do you evaluate it, how detailed are your evaluations, and how do you anticipate to develop any kind of muscle memory with your staff and your faculty when you're only doing this once a year?
well, we're doing those drills more than once a year. We're getting the intruder training with all the teachers, and we're practicing it at least twice a year, the intruder training. We're doing, I don't know, it was 7 or 8 fire drills a year.
Do you time those?
When I was a principal in the elementary, I timed them, and so I knew how long it took, and then I always asked my staff for feedback. What could we do? What could we do better? Okay.
It's obvious that from the training that we've just done with the district the last 2 years, and the the last 2 big incidents we had one in Central last year, and we had one again this year. And it went, you know, for the most part, went flawlessly with the staff on what they did with their students, how they barricade themselves in the rooms and things like that, and talking to staff members, talking to administrators, even talking to other officers on the police department. Those are probably the best 2 trainings that those schools have probably ever had.
The belief was that the situation
Is
was
it real? And it's tough to make everybody, when you do it in true drill, it's tough to make the staff, and it's tough to make the students take it seriously. Because they think, well, it's a drill, and they'll all sit in there and they'll laugh and they'll cut up. But when they really thought it was the real thing, you could, like in Central High School, you could hear a pin drop in the hallway. You never heard a word from a classroom. You couldn't get a door open. You couldn't see in a window because they had the windows and they had the doors barricaded. You couldn't get nothing. And it was the same way with Lafayette this year.
And we do evaluate fire drills. I time my kids, I'm an assistant principal at Lafayette and John Davis. We time how fast our kids get out of the building. And then 2 administrators go through and we sweep, we make sure the doors are shut, make sure the windows are shut. If they're not, we go to that teacher individually to tell them that if there is a fire, you need to shake the window, you need to shake the door where the oxygen doesn't fire, things like that. So.
Another question and concern I have is just recently you had a school that was on lockdown. There was a gentleman running around with a knife. At the same time, you had a hostage situation at the hotel.
Yes.
Now, in a situation like that, do you have the manpower to have an officer report to that to one of the schools? And you just, or do you need all hands looking for that guy with the knife, or do you actually have an officer that you can commit to this school that's on lockdown so he can sit at that school and ensure the safety of that school?
Well, and actually, I'm the one that took custody of the guy the day that occurred, and he was within a couple blocks of Central High School. I did leave the school to find him and take him into custody. But for the most part, yes, we put officers in the school that are in that area. We put extra patrol boys in that area. Our special response team, which is an extra 20-some-odd guys, come out and handle the big situation where our patrol officers, of course, all of our sergeant detectives, everybody's out in the streets at that time handling multiple situations.
To help with manpower, we called people in early. We held people over. We were continually managing the manpower and the assignments. We were all on different frequencies running 2 different things really at the same time. So
in other words, you have people that are on call.
Deputies from surrounding counties that came in.
We had deputies, highway patrol, federal agents, at least 3 different federal agents, if not 4.
Everybody was there.
So there was not a manpower issue or a shortage.
But like you were talking about with that incident there, Webster was the school that went into lockdown, Webster High School. First thing I did is I contacted John Slane, who runs Webster Learning Center. I let him know what was going on, and he immediately went into lockdown. All right, at that point, I'm there at the school. If I'm not in the school, I'm right around the school. I may patrol just directly around the school to see if we can come up with this guy, if that guy is heading towards the school. I mean,
but we're pretty confident with our lockdown system, the St. Louis School District went to. We're well confident that he wouldn't be able to enter that day. But that was be trying to be done.
it's that way with all the schools. If we hear that there's an incident going on, I mean, not too long ago, we had an incident down by the old Neely. Well, a lot of people realize, yes, Neely is no longer a school, but on the end of the school is the Early Learning Center, which is still part of the school district. And we had an incident that was just south of there of a strong arm robbery, and supposedly the suspects were seen up towards the Neely school. First thing we did is get on the phone with them and tell them what's going on, and then we start heading down. Officer Schroeder went to Garden Park, I went to the Early Learning Center, and that's where we staged ourselves until it's done and over.
I know we have a question from a very important person here. What would you like to say?
What if the fire is right in front of the door?
Say it louder.
What if the fire is right in front of the door? Would we still close the window or would we jump out the windows?
What he's at, they only have one exit in their classroom, so what if the fire's in the way of that one door?
That's why when you do a fire drill, you need to really take in those different scenarios. Are you on the first floor so you can get out? You know, that's to consider. If you're on the second floor, have we made some type of plan? What floor are you on? You're on the first? Okay.
There is only one floor.
Okay.
I would like to commend the St. Joe PD because, and the SROs here tonight, and all the incidents that have happened. I've been there in central office, and it amazes me how well it works. And the communication that's taking place, I commend Joey as well, because it's like command central. And to be quite honest with you, I'm listening. You know, I'm listening and watching. And, you know, you guys are on the ground, you're making decisions, and we're on the phone with Solon, and many times he's on site, but I do want to commend you. What's happening is working.
And just for you, I know that somebody asked about some training, about staff members wanting to get more training and want to see more of what we do. The last week of January, and I've already talked to the person that's running this, last week of January, the first part of February, our department's putting on training. It's active shooters training. We're actually doing it at the old noise school. And I talked to the person that's in charge of it. He said it's more than welcome for any of the staff members in the school districts to come out. They can be involved in it. They can just walk behind it and see what happens, just like we did at Lafayette. And you can experience what actually goes on.
And also in the beginning of December, we're bringing a special speaker here who's offering a course on active shooter training for bus drivers, for school bus drivers. I've been working with Joe. We're getting 70 bus drivers coming to this. It's a really, really good lecture, as well as some of the drivers from the city bus system. And it talks about a scenario, a true life scenario that happened in another state, in a small town kind of thing. You'd never think you'd have a threat there, and gives them some really good ideas of how to keep their kids safe.
Yeah, I think that same gentleman was here 2 years ago.
Possible.
Yeah. And did the bus company then too.
The only thing that I'll add is really we would love to take the credit and say we're as good as we are when we know that really we're only as strong as the people in our community and the people we work with. And you know, when it comes down to it, most people have Facebook, most people have Twitter and stuff. And the thing that I see that the problem is people see stuff and they don't want to get involved. But we can't urge our community enough that if you see a comment from a student or a kid or somebody says, I want to kill myself, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get a gun, so many things have been averted just because somebody's called us and told us, and we were able to cut it off. And you know, that is just so important to us, because again, we're only as strong as the people around us. And if we get that information, then if we go to these places, because what a lot of people don't see behind the scenes, if we get information on a student, we do home visits. We go to their house, we'll ask the parent, hey, can we search your kid's room? And every time I've done that, I've had a parent absolutely allow me to do that. Okay? So behind the scenes, we're doing a lot of stuff that people don't see to make sure people are safe. But when you guys see that stuff, give us a call. I'd rather go to a place and find out it was a joke, or they were blowing off steam, or whatever the case is, to find out that it's not real. That's fine. We did our job, and we made sure this kid was safe. We made sure everybody else was safe. So again, if you see that stuff, please call us. Let us know what's going on. We're going to follow up on it. We're going to follow up on everything. We take everything seriously when it comes to that.
Yes, I have a question. It's not a concern, but I just kind of thought the other day, I have 2 daughters that go to Central. And they do great. We don't have any trouble. But one the other day, one forgot their homework. So I ran it up there, and I pushed the little buzzer. And she said, can I help you? And I said, I have my daughter's homework. She said, come on in. Now, the only thing that I kind of thought of after I left was, she didn't ask me who my child was or anything, so I wonder if somebody could do that and say, oh, my child forgot something, and they let them in, and they get in that way. How, is there anything in place so they can say, who is your child, who can identify? Because, I mean, it was great for me because I had to leave work, I was in a hurry to get back, so it was not a problem, but I just got thinking, how, could anybody just do that, or?
Can I add in here real quick? Absolutely, I agree that if they don't know who it is, they should ask who it is. But what I will say on the flip side of this, that there's nobody that knows our parents more then the secretaries and the people that are answering those intercoms, and there's a camera in them. And they can see the face of the people on a camera inside their office on their desk. So I know working with the staff down at Benton, they know pretty much every time somebody pushes the button, they know the face already and they know who it is. So a lot of times they don't ask because they know who it is. But I've got them in the mode if they don't know who it is, they're supposed to ask what they're doing or how they can help them or who they're there for.
Well, and I'm good friends with one of the secretaries, so she probably knew.
Right,
That
so,
could be
but
it.
that's, you know, there is cameras there, they do know a lot of them, they probably know the parents better than we do.
I didn't realize there was.
You didn't
a
know there
camera.
There's a little camera inside.
Mayor, after you got in, did you go and sign in at the office?
I just went to the window where the sliding glass door was, told them who I was and who my child was, and they took homework from me.
Had you not done that, I suspect that you would have been met by somebody.
Yeah, no, I didn't even go in the office.
And that's something that we give the power to the secretary too. We tell them that, hey, if you're feeling hinky about something, or your gut feeling tells you something's wrong, you don't recognize them or it's not coming up right, lock it down and call 911 immediately. And we're going to come there, we're going to have your back. And that will give us an opportunity to do our job, and we'll weed out whether this person's supposed to be there or not. And the reason we do that is, you know, if it's a legitimate reason they're there, we'll apologize to them and say, okay, but understand your child goes to school too, so we want to be as safe as possible, so this was for your child too. And if they're not supposed to be there, that's when we need to take action on it.
Do the secretaries have like a duress button underneath their desk that they can use to buzz you right away?
They all have our cell phone numbers.
Yeah, they have our cell phone numbers, so most of them do.
They're all in the offices where there's administrators.
Right. And again, one of the things we teach the secretaries too is also, just because you know it's Johnny's dad, doesn't mean anything. Pay attention to body language, pay attention to what they're saying, how's their voice, is something different about them today than normal. And you know, those are some of the things we teach them to look out for. So if it's not right, Johnny's dad may be upset because they had to wait for the police to get there, but something wasn't right today and the secretary did not feel right opening the door, and that's one of the things that we teach them.
I think on cell phones and I think on the database, I think that they need to keep the phones. You know, I always carried my phone when I was in school. They need to, since Facebook, what's happened at college and what happened in Missouri, Washington, and MU, I think they need to leave their phone at home or leave them in a locker or somewhere so that they know it's safe. They're putting stuff on the Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. It's really getting down to the nitty-gritty. And it's a society change, the people have changed. I wish it didn't happen, but it's the way it is.
Any other comments? Yes.
I really think the teachers shouldn't have their phones during class or during recess. Because one time I got hurt so bad, and one of the teachers noticed.
It's a distraction.
For distraction, yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This is being recorded and we will upload it to our YouTube channel in case you know of anyone who didn't get a chance to come tonight. It will be available to view. And also, we do have an email specific to feedback. It's just feedback@sjsd.k12.mo.us. That at any time, if you have any comments or concerns or a thought of something that you want to share with us, please do that and we will respond to that. So thank you for coming and we certainly appreciate you being here.